guys, so I'm here today to talk to you about the books I read in the month of December. Now, I didn't read a lot of books in physical form. A lot I read on my phone or Kindle, so I'm just going to insert pictures of them all here. The first two books I'll talk about are the books that were for the Classical Read Along 2.0, which was a read along I ran this month. I have not filmed a wrap-up video for this read along yet. I do plan on in January uploading a video specifically about drama in ancient Greece and on the two plays that we read, but there has been a Goodreads group where I know there's been lots of conversation, so I'll link that down below if you want to check it out. But the two books we read this month were a Greek tragedy, which was Euripides' Bacchae, and a comedy by Aristophanes, which was his Frogs. Both of these were fabulous. I really enjoyed them. The Bacchae is perhaps my second, if not definitely third, favourite Euripides play I've read so far now. It's about a city who rejects Dionysus as a true god. They don't believe he's actually a god, aka Bacchus, which is where the title comes from. And it's about the women who go off to kind of worship Dionysus' cult despite kind of the leader of their city not believing in him. There's some pretty tragic things happen and it's really good. Frogs is a comedy by Aristophanes, which actually kind of takes the mickey out of Euripides, the tragedian. Aristophanes plays quite often mock Euripides. He kind of wasn't the biggest Euripides fan and he made a lot of jokes about the tragedian. So that was quite fun to read straight after. It was also very funny. There was a lot of toilet humour in it, which is not uncommon for Aristophanes from what I've read, and I always quite like Aristophanes just for proving that there's nothing more highbrow about ancient literature, and that these things aren't like some modern invention like toilet humour. It's like, oh, we've gone down so downhill, where's the golden age of like literature? I hate that because it's so not true. Toilet humour is just like the oldest form of humour, and they're just really funny. Frogs is about the god Dionysus going down to the underworld to speak to dead tragedians. Euripides and Aeschylus then have a sort of like tragedy off to see who's the better writer. I then read the second of Philip Pullman's Dark Materials series, which is The Subtle Knife, the sequel to The Northern Lights or The Golden Compass if you're in North America. I had previously read The Northern Lights I think last year, and Holly and Jen were doing a read along for his Dark Materials this month, and because I'd never read the two sequels to the first one, I thought I would pick up The Subtle Knife finally, or get it on my audiobook. I was listening to it on Audible on my Audible app, and this one was so different from the first one. In a way it was very similar. It continued on the plot, it was the next step in the adventure, but it also felt very different. And it's difficult to say anything about it without spoiling the first one, but I will say that his Dark Materials is a children's series for all ages. Anybody can read these books. They're really well written, really imaginative, and if you like fantasy, then I would highly recommend checking them out. Another book that I read because of Jen, at least I heard about it first on her channel, was The Beauty by Elijah Whitley. I don't know if I'd recommend anybody read this book. I gave it a 3 stars because it was so well written and I couldn't really put it down. It was terrifying and disturbing and really unnerved me, and at points I felt physically sick whilst reading it. And I like disturbing books. This is a kind of magic realism fantasy, I'm not sure which category it would come into, kind of almost horror book. It's set in a dystopian world where there's no women left, and it's been 6 years since the last woman died, and mushrooms have started to grow on the women's graves. Very quickly on in the story, these mushrooms grow into sort of female shapes. So these mushrooms kind of they're alive, they walk around, they do stuff, like they exist very much in their own right. They have no faces, but they have like the shape of a woman, but no features, and they're just, oh, it's just the most, just this most disturbing image. And yeah, the book's so good. It plays with gender and like it's really interesting. It is not for the faint-hearted though. It made me feel quite sick, especially some of the stuff that happened, or it was very like violent and sexual, disturbing. Like that's all I can say. It made me feel really ill. And I kind of want you all to read it just so that I'm not alone in feeling like this, but I have to be honest, it's definitely not for everybody. But at the same time, it was a very well executed book. It was very good. It certainly didn't fail in its in its intention, and I would recommend it if you have a sort of stomach of steel. I then read Sweet Tomb by Trinny Dalton, which was a little chapbook that I bought from Madras Press, and I bought this after hearing about it on Mercedes at Mercy's Bookish Musings channel, and I was so close to giving this book 5 out of 5 stars. It started off so well for me, and it was a fantasy book about a witch who had a sugar addiction and was very careful that she didn't want to end up eating children, so stayed very well clear of that. She had a relationship with a vampire, and there was like little mysterious things going on. There was a lot going on. It was really well written, really imaginative. Pinocchio pops up in there. It was just really good fun, and I really liked it, and there was from the beginning there was some really intriguing little plots. It didn't necessarily have like a traditional main narrative. There was lots of little things going on, and that is one of the things that disappointed me. By the end there was some things that I didn't really feel had been cleared up, or little plot points that I wish had the book had come back to or gone into more detail of, and I just didn't really like the final story. Like the final events of the books with the witch, whose name was Candy, were not interesting to me. Now that was about maybe a fifth of the book, however. The rest of it I loved, but the last fifth really let me down, and that's what kind of chopped off the last star for me. Put it down to 4 stars out of 5 stars, which kind of works because 4/5 of it I really liked, 1/5 didn't like so much. However, I really enjoyed it. Will definitely be checking out more of Trinny Dalton's work, and would recommend it to most of you. Just know that I did find the last bit, but then some of you might like it. It was just very different from the rest of it, and it wasn't what I'd been enjoying of the book, so it was kind of a letdown in that respect. I then read Saga Volume 5. I've been meaning to read this for ages. I picked it up a little while ago. I love Saga. It is one of my favourite graphic novels, especially comic book graphic novel series. It's so good. It's about a couple who come from a moon and a planet who are at war, and they have a baby right at the beginning of the series, and then become like sort of hunted by their respective planets because they don't want people to know that these planets can get along and that their people can reproduce and fall in love, and all. They're kind of destroying the reason behind this war and making all of their war seem futile. And there's also lots of little subplots with like hitmen and royalty, just different people from different planets. It's set throughout the universe, really good, and I really enjoyed Volume 5. I know some people didn't enjoy it as much as the rest of them. I don't know if it's just because I hadn't read Volume 4 in a while, but I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed getting back into the series, and straight after I had to pick up the next 2 single issues on Comixology. Because I just couldn't wait until they'd released the next 5 or 4 single issues and brought them out then in a trade paperback graphic novel. I wanted to know what was going on, so I read issues 31 and 32 on my Comixology app on my phone. Really enjoyed those. Definitely going to be, I think, keeping up with the series from now on in single issues, because I just enjoyed it so much. Like, I kind of want to just be reading it regularly rather than waiting for each issue. I also wasn't collecting the graphic novel paperback, so that doesn't bother me, although in the future I am considering buying the big hardback bind-ups because I love it so much. But that is everything I've finished this month. There is 2 books in particular that I am almost done, like literally pages away from being done, but didn't quite finish them in December, so didn't want to include them in this. But we'll probably finish them today, and it's the 1st of January today, and that is Silma Hill by Ian Maloney, which is a story set in the 1800s and is about accusations of witchcraft and all that good stuff. And the other one is The Women at the Thesmophori, which is another comedy from Aristophanes' collection here, the one in which I read Frogs. Again, like literally got like 5 pages left of it, but just didn't finish it in December of 2016, so you can expect to see those in the January wrap up. But until next time guys, happy reading, and I'll see you all again soon. Bye!